Hey guys, what is up? And Shadowlands back with another episode of nothing really. This is just a commentary actually, no. So today I wanted to talk about what makes a weapon OP. This term gets tossed around a lot with weapons these days because Nexon keeps releasing all these weapons that by old standards would be really freaking OP. But by today's standards, you really have to look closely at what defines a weapon as overpowered. Overpowered is tossed around a lot. Commentators like Sniff and Arctic have gone over this and talked about what they think is OP, what they think is not, and they talk about individual weapons, but I don't think anyone's ever actually gone and defined what makes certain weapons overpowered. So that's what I'm going to do today. Starting off with snipers, a lot of people argue that snipers can't really be overpowered, but in terms of other snipers, if you compare certain snipers to other snipers, yes, some are obviously blatantly overpowered. The Andromalias is a great example of this. Basically, the things that define a great sniper. They have very fast spread recovery and very, very good damage drop-off. That means that over time their damage doesn't lose a lot of its velocity. It still has that high damage at a longer range. That's what makes the Andromalias amazing. The spread recovery is very, very quick. The overall spread doesn't matter so much as fast as the spread recovery. For example, the JNG, very fast spread recovery. Tango, very fast spread recovery, but the overall spread is a little above average. It's kind of high spread. But if it recovers instantaneously, then it doesn't really matter so much. So people might ask, why does fire rate not really matter? Because people can quick switch too much for that to be a factor. Why does the damage stat not make much of a difference? Because if you think about it, the FRF2, 100 damage. Other high damage weapons, the Tango, that's what, 95, 98 damage, somewhere in there? But it's still a one-shot kill more consistently than the FRF2 is. Reason being is because the damage drop-off is so much better. That's why it's more consistently a one-shot kill, that and the fact that people tend to wear recon vests. SMGs, why not damage? Why is damage not something that makes it OP? SMGs are more important with overall spread, not necessarily recovery, overall spread and rate of fire. And one could also argue reload rate because you want to get your shots out fast, reload, get more shots out. The whole point of an SMG is about getting a ton of shots over a concentrated area as soon as possible, very, very quickly. If you think about it, guns like the P90TR, the PP19, the UMP, although the P90TR does have low spread, it doesn't have the rate of fire that a lot of other newer guns like the Magpul and the Barapi have. The T2 is also arguable for that, but there's a whole myriad of ones. The new Micro Uzi, the Mac 11. The reason these weapons are better than the old ones like the PP19 and the UMP is because they have very low spread and very high rate of fire, even if their damage isn't as good. Not saying their damage is bad by any means. The Micro Uzi has amazing damage for the spread and rate of fire, not to mention the silencer. I would be very, very quick to say that is considered an overpowered weapon in my mind. However, things like the Banshees may not be because they have other small problems. But the whole point is you need to look at spread and rate of fire. So if you have a very concentrated area, a lot of shots in that one area, you won't miss as many shots, and the damage doesn't matter if it's 1 or if the damage is 100. You're going to kill in a very, very quick pace. Maybe not really if you have a damage of 1, because then with a 30 magazine, you'll only be able to do 30 damage, but that's the whole point. So assault rifles, damage drop-off and recoil are what I will argue is more important. So why not accuracy? No decent assault rifle in the game can have a scope on it that can't be accurately tapped. Any gun you can put a scope on, for the most part, as long as it's not a known jamming gun, which is an actual glitch with the game, you can tap fire it very, very easily regardless of the accuracy. The only guns in the game where that can somehow have a scope on them that don't have really good accuracy are machine guns like the RPKS mod. Even in scope, your shot's not going to be perfectly accurate. However, with assault rifles, an ACOG scope or iTech, tap firing and aiming headshots is very, very easy. Now obviously it's easier with the G36s, XM8s, AUG A1s, high magnification scope weapons, but it's still just as easy with an ACOG scope if you're able to accurately aim your shot. So that's why I say the damage drop-off, so the overall damage you do, and the recoil is more important. I would also say damage drop-off is more important than the actual damage stat, because if you look at weapons like the SG556 Mark II and the SG556 Camo reviews, which have been done recently, they both have really bad damage drop-off as far as guns are concerned. However, the SG556 Mark II has 42 damage, whereas the SG556 Camo has, I believe, 36. Massive difference, but they both do about the same amount of damage at longer ranges. The SG556 Mark II tends to do a bit more just because of the damage stat, but the damage drop-off is very close, despite the fact it's slightly higher on the camo, or slightly better on the camo, lower. So the damage drop-off, I would argue, is actually more important than the damage stat itself. Per the damage stat, the SG556 Camo is better than the Mark II, except for this, well, given the fact that it has that higher damage stat, the Mark II, I mean. So if you think about it, damage drop-off, more important than the actual damage stat. That's why stats lie so much. That's why Nexon gets a lot of crap on that. Shotguns, rate of fire, and spread. Doesn't matter the damage, because shotguns are about getting as many shots to connect as possible. If you think about it, the Maxus, yes, high damage, but what makes it so devastating? It's the rate of fire and the low spread. Similar to that, the Remington is probably the Remington 1187P is probably the closest gun in the game to that, just given the very low spread and high rate of fire. It doesn't have the highest damage, but it has very low damage drop-off, which you could also argue is very important. But a lot of shotguns like the Keltec, although it has a very high damage, has bad damage drop-off for the most part, and the rate of fire is not very high. That's why guns like the regular R870 series and the M590 series aren't as OP as people used to think they were. New guns like the Remington and the M4 Super 90 work better because they have a higher rate of fire, regardless of having bad damage drop-off. Highest rate of fire with a really low or variable spread like the M4 Super 90 has, you can aim your shots and get more shots to connect. That's very important for a shotgun. Machine guns, just what the fuck, why are these even in the game? It's like for trolls to be assholes. I'm not even going to go over that. Pistols, damage and spread recovery, very important. So why isn't accuracy important? Pistols are secondary weapons for use at close range. Accuracy is not as important as landing as many high-power shots as possible with minimal spread. So that's why things like K5SD, the USP, the M1911, those are very, very important. Although the M19 has relatively high spread overall, the USP isn't the smallest in the world, but it's very nice because it has super fast spread recovery. The overall recoil is very, very low, especially with an S1 suppressor. The damage is also very important because you want to have a pistol that won't take more than 4 shots to kill regardless. The USP is a great example of this. It's a very consistent 4-shot kill, except maybe on a Hauser at longer ranges you'll have that 5 to 6 shot kill. But if you're at the close range that you should be for a pistol, if you have already emptied your primaries and those are no longer an option to you, and the pistol is all you have to go, you should be pretty close to them by that point. If not, you should still be relying on your primaries. So assuming that you're in the right position to use a pistol, damage is most important to be able to take out your enemy as fast as possible. The M19 Silver Customized is particularly popular because it's an M19 that has a lot of extra ammo similar to the Gold, and it's customizable for tons of damage and fire rate, not to mention the first shot being almost perfectly accurate, making it great for one-click headshots. The USP-SE and the USP series is also a great idea for this. My personal favorite is the USP-SE, not actually the tactical variant, although the tactical variant is still fun to use too, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Knives, I actually am going to cover this. Knives are important because of range, so why not damage? The Dom Pedro, the Tracker, and the Titer Striker are the most dominant knives in the game that aren't M9s. The reason the M9 is popular is because it hits twice per swing. If you guys try attacking someone, you'll hear that it actually hits the person twice. It only may do about 40 damage per hit, but if every shot hits twice, 80 damage, you're more likely to do a lot more damage than something like a Dom Pedro or a Tracker. However, the reason these other weapons are so popular is because they have range. They may not be the most powerful in the game, granted the Tracker and Tiger Strider are both quite strong. They have the range, and the Dom Pedro may not have quite the damage that the other two have, but it does have the longest range in the game as of the time this video is being recorded. So that's just very, very important. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, just going over what makes weapons OP. Thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe. Check out the Facebook group in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Shadowlance out.